Welcome to the Ominous Omens channel, a channel dedicated to entertain your dark delights. Enjoy the video. Story number 1. A haunting at Hotel San Carlos. I arrived in Phoenix, Arizona to catch a concert over the weekend. The weather was brisk, but warm for February, as I take my ride from the airport to my hotel. It was a brief ride into downtown Phoenix, and soon enough I had arrived at my hotel, the Hotel San Carlos. Built in 1928 and opened in March of the same year, Hotel San Carlos became Arizona's first high-rise hotel with hand-operated elevators and air conditioning. I enter the lobby of the hotel, and I'm immediately bathed in 1930s nostalgia, with the likes of Marilyn Monroe, Clark Gable, and Mae West having been frequent guests at the Hotel San Carlos. The hotel not only having fame, history, and nostalgia attached to it, but also notoriously haunted as well. It is said to be haunted by the ghost of a jilted lover named Leon Jensen, who leaped to her death from the rooftop after being rejected. The hotel is also haunted by a little girl, and the sounds of little children playing in the basement. So with all this history and energy encircling the Hotel San Carlos, my 3 nights here are going to be interesting to say the least. I get checked in, get my room keys, then off to my room on the 5th floor. I board the old-timey elevator, and soon enough, after the creaking and moaning of the elevator ride, I am now on the 5th floor and on my way to my room. I find my room, enter, and proceed to turn all the lights on and unpack. After settling in, I head back to the lobby to get dinner at a Mexican restaurant in the hotel. I order my dinner, a couple of drinks, sit back at the bar and chat up the bartender as well as the other patrons nearby. After a while I'm done with dinner and make my way back up to my room using the same creaky moaning elevator. I settle in for the night and soon enough I'm in bed. After a night of uneased sleep I wake up in the morning feeling a sense of false peace, like being lulled into a false sense of security. I get dressed and head out to a breakfast spot. I order, have my breakfast, then leave. I go for a walk around the arena the concert is going to be at that night, then walk back to my hotel. Now I begin exploring all the different hallways and pool deck. I take several pictures while I'm at it. After reading several of the plaques and seeing where the Hollywood stars' rooms were, I head back to my room. After surfing YouTube and taking a short nap, it's time to get ready for the concert. I leave the hotel and walk the short distance to the arena, get checked in and find my seat. The concert blew me away with how amazing it was. It was loud, and had the most amazing laser light show I had ever seen. Now walking back to my hotel, I settle in for my second night. After my adrenaline fades from the concert, I crash, and I'm back in bed. After sleeping what felt like an eternity, I'm woken up feeling as though I'm being watched. The hair on the back of my neck stands on end, and I freeze. I slowly pull the covers over my head and try to close my eyes. But it is no use. This feeling won't go away. I open my eyes, refusing to scan the room. Finally, I hear it. A loud sigh coming from the foot of my bed. I freeze again, trying not to panic. Finally, I summon enough courage to look, and when I do, I see the remnants of a misty cloud dispersing from my room. The remainder of the night, I am left sleepless. I get up the next morning and decide that I don't want to spend the day at the hotel, so I get dressed and make my way to another breakfast spot. I order my breakfast and drinks and hang out for the afternoon. After a long afternoon, the restaurant closes and I'm off to find dinner. I find a restaurant, get a table, and order my meal and drinks. The restaurant is absolutely packed because the Super Bowl is on. After I finish my meal and the game is over, I begin making the dreaded walk back to my hotel. Now you may ask, why don't I just check out and find a different hotel for my last night's stay? Well, I had built up a little bit of courage from the night before that was guiding me, so I was committed. As I return to the Hotel San Carlos, I board the creaky, moaning elevator once again. I arrive at my room and settle in for the night, or I try to. I eventually grow tired and go to bed for my third and last night's stay. It was a blissful sleep at first. I was awoken again, but this time it wasn't the feeling of being watched. No. This time I was actually hearing the sounds of little girls creepily giggling outside my hotel room door. I turned over, looked at the clock to find that it was about 2:45-ish in the morning. Needless to say, it was another sleepless night. I got up the next morning, got dressed, packed up, and left the Hotel San Carlos for good. If you're ever in the Phoenix metro area, check out the lobby and the nostalgia at Hotel San Carlos, and book a room if you dare. Story number 2. A haunting at my dad's house. It all was confirmed over the weekend. See, I had been living with my dad for about 6 months at this point, and during these 6 months I always had the feeling that I was being watched while I slept. All the classic signs were there, like the hair on the back of my neck would stand on end, the room would get cold, and I would see dark shadows out of the corner of my eye. My bedroom was in the attic of my dad's house, a house built in the 1920s. I asked my dad about the history of the house, who had lived there, and what activities had taken place there. I knew that when he moved into the house, my dad was renting it at first but would end up buying the house from the original owner eventually. The original owner had told my dad that he had his mother living there so he could take care of her in her old age. Her health would continue to decline, and eventually she passed away. My dad gave his condolences and went about his way. One night, we were having dinner in the dining room, and a conversation about the history of the house came up. When my dad told me about the previous owner's mother passing away in the house, I asked my dad which bedroom was hers. My dad said it was the upstairs bedroom. At this moment I had a mini existential crisis. "That's my bedroom," I said out loud. But oh well, I was still a little skeptical at this time. Oh, how things would change. Fast forward a few months into the future, my dad and his fiancée planned a trip out of town for a weekend. The weekend comes. They pack up and head out Friday afternoon. I wave them goodbye and have the house to myself for the full weekend. Or so I would have thought. Friday evening goes fairly uneventful. I make myself dinner, watch some TV, then go to bed. The same feeling of being watched is ever present, but I sleep through the night anyway. I wake up Saturday morning, get dressed and head off to work. While at work I decide that I'm going to rent a movie and watch it on my dad's relatively new home theater surround sound system with a big screen TV. This excites me, so now I can't wait for my shift to be over. My shift finally ends and soon enough I'm back home. I take a shower, head upstairs back to my bedroom, and proceed to get dressed. As I'm sitting on the stairs that go up to my bedroom tying my shoes, all the lights upstairs begin violently strobing on and off. I race out of the house to the video rental store, not too eager to return home now, but eventually I do, movie in hand. I enter my house, drop the movie in the living room, and proceed to go into detective mode, trying to debunk all the light strobing that went on earlier. I check the light switches, the light fixtures, and the bulbs. I even go down to the basement to check the fuses. Yes, this house is old enough to still use fuses instead of breakers. All are fine. Now feeling completely freaked out by this, I return to the living room and try to watch the movie, knowing that going to bed tonight won't be easy. I finish the movie, grow tired, and eventually go to bed. I awake the next morning, not getting much sleep, make myself breakfast, clean house a little bit, then go about my day a little disturbed by last night's events. Now no longer being a skeptic of the paranormal, I become a believer, especially after learning that spirits have the ability to affect electricity. My dad and his fiancée return home Sunday afternoon. I tell them about what happened over the weekend, and much to my shock they don't show much disbelief in my story. Let's just say, I think they may be believers too. Fast forward a few years. I'm no longer living at my dad's house and have become sensitive to paranormal presences, and I have moved out of town. I come back for a visit, and I meet up with my dad and his fiancée, now his wife. They tell me about how they have remodeled the upstairs of the house and can't wait to show me. I finally go over to their house, and upon opening the door to go upstairs I sense it, no spiritual energy. I find out why when I climb the stairs and arrive on the upstairs landing. When they remodeled this part of the house, they put a couple of skylights in. It's when they cut the holes in the roof that the spirit and its energy finally left the house through those holes, much like portals to a different dimension. I went from skeptic to believer, living at my dad's house. Story number 3. The Haunting at Willow's Crest, a Night to Remember.
I'm Maggie. I used to be the head waitress at Willow's Crest. What happened there? God, I still can't believe it. Willow's Crest was this small, cozy restaurant on the outskirts of town. It had been my home away from home for nearly 5 years. That Thursday night started like any other. The air was crisp, the dining room was quiet, and the lights were dimmed just right. But something felt off. I'd been feeling uneasy for weeks, but that night, it was different. The air felt heavy, pressing down on my shoulders. I was serving a couple in the corner when I felt it again. A cold draft sweeping past me, but there were no open windows. Then the lights flickered. Not like they usually did. This was different. For a second, everything went pitch black. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us. The restaurant felt different that night, like it was holding its breath. Every step I took felt like I was walking through molasses. I rushed to find Greg, our manager. He was in the kitchen staring at the walk-in freezer. His face was pale, his eyes wide with fear. And then I saw it. Behind the freezer door there was something. A figure. Tall, thin, almost skeletal. The freezer door slammed open. We jumped back, and just like that, the figure was gone.
Maggie, I don't think we should be here.
Greg's voice was shaking when he spoke. He had been hearing things too. Strange noises, footsteps when no one was around. That's when we heard it. A soft laugh echoing from the back hallway. But it wasn't a laugh. It was something mocking. The temperature dropped again. I could see my breath in the air. The lights started flickering wildly. And then... oh God. It appeared again. This place that had once felt so welcoming now felt ancient and dark. Right in the middle of the dining area. Its face was... it wasn't human. Its eyes were hollow and dark. The room felt like it was closing in on us. The air was thick, suffocating. I caught its reflection in the mirror behind the bar. It grinned at me. That smile, it was too wide, too knowing. And then, just like that, everything went quiet. The light steadied, the air warmed. But Greg and I, we knew. We'd just met the ghost of Willow's Crest. Neither of us ever stepped foot in that restaurant again. Some things you just can't unsee. You know, sometimes I still feel like it's watching me. In mirrors and windows. That grin. Those hollow eyes. I don't think it ever really left us. I think a part of it came home with us that night. And I don't know if we'll ever be free of it.